Even though we're trading individual securities, it's good to always be aware of what is the general broader market sentiment. What is generally happening in the markets? Are they moving up? Are they moving down? Are they sideways? What's going on in the bigger market? Because the individual securities will tend, not exclusively, but will tend to follow the overall market trends. They not necessarily will go up higher or down lower. Those things happen or don't happen, but they'll tend to follow along. Think of it like a rising tide lifts all boats, and the same thing when the tide falls, all the boats go down, right? So it's a similar thing with prices and securities. And there can be headwinds and tailwinds that you're fighting against too, maybe with an individual security that's either helping it, a tailwind, or hurting it, like a headwind, no matter what it might be as far as what you're looking at. So understanding that broader market sentiment can be very, very important. Again, if we look at just this chart from the COVID years, you can see where even though you have these very different things, Amazon, which ended up doing very well, and Norwegian Cruise Line that did not, you can kind of see to the broader market in the green, where I've circled where they've kind of stayed together. You can see where, like, let's say versus the green line, the broader market of 500 stocks in the middle there by the picture of the COVID, I guess. And you can see how the Amazon stock went up faster, but it still went up higher along with the market and then flattened out around the same time too. It doesn't match up necessarily exactly, but it's pretty close most of the time. So understand that broader market sentiment can be impactful too on how you might want to trade. So sentiment indicators, and we have some coming up later in the course, like Bollinger Bands and other ones, can help strengthen your decision making as far as what you want to do. And if, in general, if the individual security is going, let's say, with the market sentiment, that's a good thing, that helps you. But if it's going against the market sentiment, that would be something to be aware of as well. Doesn't mean you can't. That's part of contrarian investing and all that too. In fact, that's where sometimes the best opportunities lie, is going against it. But just understand that you have this broader market sentiment out there. And there's some indicators out there too, like in stocks, there's a thing called the bull and bear ratio. It primarily looks at USA stocks, but you might have a similar thing as far as with other markets too. And it's basically just tracking or serving professional financial advisors or finance professionals. And weekly they publish data by a firm called Investors Intelligence that tells you whether there's more people who think the market's going to go down, or bears, or the market's going to go up, or bulls. People think the market's going to go up, or prices are going up, or bulls. Prices go down, market's going to go down, or bears. And so they have a flat line of 0, and if there's more bulls than bears, then the number's higher, and by what percentage. So you can see here on this example at the far right, the bulls were exceeding the bears by about 19.28%, but it fluctuates around there. It's not a super great gauge, but it gives you an idea. Maybe another one is the advanced decline ratio, or AOD, where you're literally looking at the number of stocks in a particular exchange, trading exchange, whether they closed higher for that day or they closed lower, and you kind of do the math as far as what's the ratio on that. Here was an example of 1,881 were above and 1,268 were below. So the advanced decline ratio was 1.48, the 1,800 over the 1,200. A bullish sign would be anything that's greater than 1.0, right? Less than that would be bearish. So you're kind of comparing that to the previous trends and numbers and things as far as getting an idea of overall market sentiment. But we have some actual indicators coming up that I think will be even more impactful. But these are just some things you're going to see in the broader market. One thing that is very impactful and really to look at closely whenever you're looking at individual securities to trade and be aware of is volume. How much, are there a lot of people trading something, or is it really kind of low volume in a particular time? And you're looking at that volume over a period of time. And a high volume can actually help confirm a price move. They'll kind of go together where whether up or down, there's a lot of trading that's driving that action. And sometimes the volume can lead the price where something is coming. There's a lot of people trading because they think something's coming, an earnings announcement, an announcement of some sort, or there's just something going on that's, an indicator showing something, so people are getting in or getting out. And so volume can help precede that sometimes. Sometimes it trails, but a lot of times it may precede it. And certainly when the event happens, that's where you might see a spike in volume too. Like we look at this example here, I like to use it from Norwegian Cruise Line because it was during that COVID period, it was just so reliant on COVID-19 news, especially if it was positive. And you can kind of see these where it has these big spikes up. And if you look at the bottom, you can kind of see the volume go with it. I mean, that first spike was a big spike, and the volume did go up. The bars did get higher on the bottom, but it wasn't a real big confirming, a thing of that. And it kind of quickly turned back around and went way back down. And then the same thing where, volume kind of goes up, and that big tall one in the middle there, or the third one to the right, you can see there's a whole series of bars below, before and after, kind of around all that COVID-19 news. Maybe that was around like vaccines and things. That's looking like, mid-June here in 2020. So you can kind of get a feel for that too. That would really dramatically impact a particular cruise line stock, because until COVID is under control, people aren't taking cruises. So does that impact anything as far as other stocks? It could. But, particularly for this one, you can see how volume can be a good indicator around that. And as we go through some other indicators, might see volume tied to it as well.